action item list. This I feel is a little bit outdated. I don't know what year this represents, the agenda date on some of these. I feel like some of them maybe pertaining to last year. So what does this team want to do? Do you want to go through one by one and discuss it? Do you just want to talk about one that you have a question on? What does the team want to do here?
Can't find it.
It's a lot of paper.
It's,
It's the Board of Finance
Here it is, here it is.
action.
oh,
item
got it.
list.
Okay, I'm good. Found it. What is?
So I'm looking at one, Board of Education permanent maintenance account, combined town and Board of Ed. I can't even remember what that's about.
I mean, if I recall, and John may remember this, possibly, I think it was Joe Bergall working with the maintenance person over at Board of Education, trying to share responsibilities where possible. So we did like snow plowing that way. I think we did some of that last year, but actually coming up with sort of a crossover maintenance account. But I never get any. I've not gotten any detail on that. I think Lisa and I actually went to a meeting.
That was talked about years ago too. I mean, I
Yes.
remember having conversations like that in my last tenure.
And then it,
Sharing equipment.
yes, sharing equipment.
So we've been doing that, right? I mean, some of the equipment has been handed down to the Board of Ed, right?
Yes, my suggestion there might be just if next time Joe Bergaw is in that, and while he's here, could he just illuminate, and what's been going on with that, and are there any new initiatives other than the snow plowing and some other, shared vehicles and so forth.
And then and then maybe it comes off. I mean,
Well, if we feel that it's being done, if there's, I think it's one of those things that we want to visit every once in a while, because things like this can happen, and then, okay, we shared a snowplow, how wonderful, and then 2 years later, we're back in our individual silos.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that we need to keep, as a board, we need to keep
Okay,
as
so
a tickler, so that when we have those discussions,
so do we move that to February then? Would you like Joe to come in and talk about it at the next meeting?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah,
if he's-
but I think it's just one of those ongoing.
Yeah.
Once
know,
a year, come in and update us
Yeah,
about it, but now since
We don't want to lose sight of it, because
since-
these are the kinds of things that, it's a great idea, it's wonderful.
Right, and then
We share a
you forget
snowplow,
about it.
and then 3 years
Yeah.
later, they're each asking for a separate.
So,
Yeah.
Anna, I would
Bathroom
suggest
key or
on this
something.
report,
Oh, go
one
ahead.
more column on the right-hand
Oh,
side
sure.
that says last update. So we can keep Board of Education permanent maintenance account as January, because that would be the goal column. The goal was to get an update in January. But let's add one more column that says last update. And then if Joe comes in February, all right,
I was gonna suggest that, and actually if we add that extra column, last update, because like if every month we stick this in your agenda packet so that everybody's seeing it every month, it'll make all of us remember that,
Remember.
oh, by the way, the next time Joe Bergaw attends a
Yeah.
meeting, we want to have him discuss this with
right,
us.
right,
Kind of thing.
okay.
Would it be beneficial also, since the school's got a new maintenance director, for him to join Joe with that? It sounds like this is a combination of town and Board of
Yeah.
Ed. And I don't know if they've had a chance to discuss
know.
anything.
Well, we actually, during CIP meetings, we did, he did come over and, with Joe, and we had one special, breakout meeting to just kind of go over their items, and Joe was present as well. So there's been that connect already.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So how about Board of Finance bylaws annual review? We actually just went through this,
Yeah,
right?
we did,
So
so-
let's put in there the last update, December 2019.
Yeah, I think, right, December
Right?
2019.
Is that when we need
Yes,
the
I think
motion
so.
to?
Yes,
All right.
I think that. we
Just put
did that.
December 2019 there. Board of Finance Subcommittee negotiations, volunteers, what is this? Does
So-
anybody know?
I do. So what,
Good.
so what that was for is when the Board of Education was doing their union contract negotiations, the Board of Finance wanted to be represented in the negotiations, and it,
I
that's
know, I
kinda
went to a
how we
couple
put it.
meetings when I went
So
to a
I
few of
don't-
those meetings.
So I don't know if this is something you want to leave on, for future,
Was it
or
worthwhile?
if someone will just think of it the next time the Board of Ed's going to be negotiating contracts.
Or is it, is there, what's outstanding, just maybe
Negotiations.
secretarial staff and some, whatever is outstanding in terms of union contracts, is that, maybe we could just find out what that is. If we, because, we are able to attend, we can have a representative,
Yeah, I did some
and
of
you did
that
right.
several years ago,
Okay.
and you asked if it was helpful, and I think it was helpful in building a relationship. It wasn't necessarily that the Board of Finance gets into the weeds of the individual
Yeah.
contract, but at the
But-
time, it was a gesture. We were able to relate what
Yeah.
our issue
Understand,
was,
yeah.
which was the macro budget.
So I found it much more, because I did this, I think I was kind of on the pilot of this, right? I did this 4 years ago, and I found it very helpful and more than just a gesture, because I learned a lot more detailed information than what was being presented during the budget
Right,
season.
right.
So I was made aware of what what a DERG is and what the salary ranges are for the teachers and how we compare to surrounding towns and our competitors.
Right,
And
right.
so that's important from a finance perspective to say, well, when they come to us and are looking for, a 3% increase in salaries across the board, now we understand why, right? Because we're behind, we're not competitive,
Right,
or
right,
whatever it is.
Yeah, no. it's-
So let's leave it on there. I don't even remember who the last people were that were attended that. Was it Lisa P.?
I don't know.
And you?
I went to
2 years?
I
No, it
went
couldn't
to
have been
the
you.
first one,
You went to the first one?
yeah. Last, what?
Yeah, I think it was Lisa. And did you go with Lisa? Do you remember,
Yes,
John?
yeah.
All right. So that, and I don't even remember when that was. Do you remember, John?
No, I don't. It was,
Let's
I
just
don't know if it
say,
was the last budget cycle or the one before.
and I think it's 3 years, every 3 years, right?
Most of them are
2
3.
years ago? Because I wasn't here 3 years ago.
No, it was in the last year or two that you
Yeah,
went. I think,
I think it was,
just put 2018 question mark, Anna.
yeah.
So, and my other question is this just for Board of Education union contract negotiations, or would it also extend to town union contract negotiations?
I think it might be nice to know what are the open, contracts are coming up. So that we can also plan that a member or members will be attending. I think one of the issues, in fact, was that we learned about contract negotiations so late, like in my first year, and there wasn't time to get someone to go
I
regularly.
remember the letter, yeah.
Yes, so
That was-
I think it'd be good just to identify what's coming up or what is open, whether it's secretarial staff at Board of Ed or whatever.
I don't think anything's coming up this year, is
Is there
there?
coming up?
Not on the town side. I'd have to check
Check on the
with
board.
regards to the Board of Ed
Yeah,
side.
that might still be open. And then we can plan or something. Okay.
Purchasing policy, annual review. Do we do an annual review of it? And do we need to do an annual review of that?
Well, that was actually, the board's request to put this, to put it on an action item list.
But it's done, it's completed.
It is completed, and it was approved in October
Right.
of
Last year,
18, so it's
yeah.
been a little over a
Right.
year.
Mm-hmm.
No one is complaining to me.
Okay.
So I think
That's
that can
good.
come off.
Well, I think the review would be,
Yeah.
how is it
So-
working, and is there a problem with it? And
You know what, I think it's working
working.
well. And, I could myself read through it just to make sure, in my mind, there isn't a little tweaking that might need to be done, but I think it's working well.
that's possibly a
I remember
question we
last
could
time-
ask when they come in for the budget.
So this, you know, I don't know. In my mind, I think it's important to have that updated so that we use that as a tool in making decisions.
Yeah.
But I'm not so if somebody comes to us with a request for an appropriation and it's over $10,000, how many bids did you get? Well, we only got one,
Yeah.
but the purchasing policy says 3. So in my mind, it's just a tool that we have to keep people
Right.
on track.
Yeah, I'm just.
I'm not really interested in how,
Yeah, I mean, it
that
doesn't
it's-
have to be updated for inflation or anything like that.
No.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
but I think, I would be curious, I mean, you gave the feedback that you're not getting a lot of complaints, that's good news, and I would just, that's good, but I think we wanna look at it in 5 years, or something like that.
So if I
Yeah, we don't
could,
have to get-
there is the provision for amending the policy is, it's within the purview of the Board of Selectmen. So they can amend the policy from time to time and in their discretion can solicit comments from the finance director, department heads, and Board of Finance. So considering that setup where it was passed, we reviewed it, they passed it, and then the amendment process has them being in charge of the policy, so to speak, but still can solicit our comment. I guess we could from time to time ask somehow through our form there, our action list, how is it working? Ask Anna, if department heads, how is it working for you? I think one of the issues, and as you know, because you were on that subcommittee with me, was, let's say the threshold,
Right.
that 50,000 versus a 25,000 threshold.
Right, right.
So, and we were in really not in a realistic position to, perhaps have that, in terms of manpower, have the 50. But, it's still more of a policy issue, I mean, I think our first concern should be, are we following the policy?
right.
And then secondarily, if you hear things that it's not working out or could be improved upon or tightened up, or here's another example, but I think it's almost out of our hands to some extent, so, I would just say through Anna, like Anna, if you can, you could keep it on there for, if you hear that there, that there's a request to have a different threshold, so the thresholds aren't working or that it's become impossible, then we could just make a recommendation and Board of Selectmen should act, hopefully
But it's not,
accordingly.
because the inflation is gonna happen gradually over time, we're gonna have to
Yeah.
look at the thresholds, but
Right,
I
right.
think,
But
I'm
I
glad
think we
to hear
can
that
weigh
feedback.
in on it, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's in our direct purview, and I agree with Camille that it may need to come off, but
Yeah.
maybe it just comes off, and then if just like anything else.
the driver would be from the Board of Selectmen. They would
Yeah.
let us know if they want our input for
Yeah,
a change or
exactly.
something. So, I mean,
I think it's, I think we have to not take on every.
You're right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I don't mind taking things off this list.
I would take off number 5, study other town wages
Yes, I
and
think we
benefits.
did some of that.
We did that already.
Yeah.
We got, I don't know if anybody would like to see that information updated, but, as we're coming into budget season, but I'm good. I don't need it.
Yeah.
Financial policies, this is, establish the table of contents. Do we have that, Anna? Do we have the table of
W-
contents?
I did at some point in
have
the
the same
past.
thing.
So, I mean, what I would really, from where I would like to go with policies is, first of all, come up with an accounting policy document. I do have a template from another town that I think is very good, so it would be a matter of me using that document to mold it to what we do here. And so that would, I think, work simple enough. And then there are 3 other policies that I would like to do. Capital assets, a continuing disclosure policy. So we're required by the SEC to disclose all of our outstanding debt issues on a global website. In 2019, they added to that any like leasing deals that we do. So for those members that are on the board, we've been doing a leasing deal annually for all of our vehicles and equipment. So we now have to disclose any outstanding leasing deals that we have annually. And so it would make sense to have a policy on what our threshold is going to be relative to what leases we'll disclose. Like, so for example, if we end up doing a lease 1 year for 500,000, well, maybe that's going to be below our threshold in a policy for when we have to disclose. So if we have it in a policy, then it, it's clear on what value threshold. So I'd like to kind of explore that one. And then the other one is a debt management policy.
So these are all really related to item number 11.
I think so, yes.
Okay, so number 1, I want you to take my initials off of that, because I think I've made it
Oh.
pretty clear, like I have no interest in
Yep.
working on that. That is really very clearly a Board of Selectmen responsibility. And if there's any volunteers out there in the public that would like to get involved, go for it.
Okay, so do you want to just take all of those off this list?
Like number 11 is what you're saying?
No, I would like updates on that, because that's
Okay.
that's an audit issue. To update the accounting manual and the policies is an audit issue, so I think it needs to be worked on, and I think we need to be updated on that.
So I'll put it on as one item.
11?
So
Six
number
and
6 I'll
11.
take off. And then.
Number
so-
6 is,
Different.
it's a step of 11.
Yeah, so we'll
It's
just take
just,
that off.
it's just all in 11, but 7 is different now.
Okay, the audit comments, yep.
So, if I'm reading this correctly, I guess that once upon a time, we elected to get updates on this quarterly, and February would be the next update. So if we go back to the audit report from last,
Yeah.
well, we don't have it, right? We don't have,
Well, for 6/30/19, we'll be getting that one.
but we,
shortly.
I don't know if we'll, he won't even, well, he wouldn't present it in February, would he? Would it be March?
Well, if he's gonna come to the February meeting, I thought he was gonna present it.
I wasn't sure if he was just going to present like preliminary findings and the, all right, maybe it is February. Maybe the final is February. But then he's going to have recommendations in that final audit report for, he's gonna have recommendations in that. So if he's just discussing it in February, then we can't follow up. So this schedule was based on his doing his presentations to our board in like May or June.
Right,
So let's put agenda date March. March 2020. And then the last update column will be blank. BOF and BOE meet to discuss the budget process. Working budget meeting, BOF chair to set up ad hoc meeting in November. So I don't know, that's a Bill Weber thing?
How do you mean?
Yeah.
Well, Bill Weber was the
Is that
chair
what
when.
those workshops were?
Yes. Yeah, I
So-
mean,
So you've
yeah,
already
well, that was,
completed it.
yes, well, that was initiated by Board of Ed through Eric, I believe, who, is a member of the Board of Education, requested it. So we did it last year and we did it this year.
All right, so let's put in the okay, so.
I guess the question is, are we gonna be doing
But no, it's
anything
the, it's,
else with it?
let's put BOF subcommittee. and BOE, budget workshops, because that makes more sense. That's what it
well,
was.
that's what's happening, yeah.
Yeah. Just put BOF subcommittee and BOE budget workshops. And then in the last updated column, we'll put December 2019. And then in the agenda date, put November/December. Because that's,
That's when
they
it happens.
could happen in November and December. All right. Working budget meeting, BOF chair to set, just take that off, BOF chair to set up ad hoc meeting. That doesn't mean anything. It's this, whoever the subcommittee people are. Okay. All right, Brown and Brown Insurance Consultant. This is not applicable anymore. Correct?
Well, we are using them this current year. Remember we talked about that?
No.
Because this was, so
Don't,
this
sorry.
is the first year that we made the transition from, our old insurance model to our new insurance model. And I will say they have been helpful to us, during this year. This is something that I wanted to discuss with the Board of Ed business manager in terms of, if we want to keep on someone on a consulting basis, considering going out to bid for it.
I see. Going out to bid each year for a new, like, health insurance.
Well, you would typically, and we would maybe want to do it, do like a 3-year contract for something like this.
But we've just done that this year, right? For this budget year, we've gone to a new insurance, the state.
Right, but we've still
Is it a
continued-
3-year contract
What, the state contract?
that we're in?
Okay, so when we signed the agreement, I believe the way the contract is written is it's continuing until either party wants to terminate the agreement.
Okay.
The way it's set up, in terms of the state plan, and in terms of the consulting, right now, it's just for 1 year, because we didn't know if we were gonna feel that we needed it beyond the first year.
So this is really, once upon a time, it was a Board of Finance issue because we said, let's get out of the self-insurance business, let's go
I
find,
think we're
do a,
past
we're
this.
past
We're
it.
past this,
I think it can come off.
Yeah.
But if that's something that you want to keep in your own personal tickler file to talk with Mariana about,
Yeah, I do have to speak with her
yeah,
about that.
that's your bailiwick. I don't think we need it on this. All right. We talked about 11. Unassigned fund balance report, that can come off because that is going to be a regular monthly report that we receive. Now that that's all set up.
I love 13. Get a grant writer.
Not so simple, though.
Well, so it sounds like a grant is in the works, maybe for a regional
Yeah.
grant writer.
I mean, yeah,
Do you want that to come off? I mean, is that really?
it's not really in our purview,
It's-
but
mm-mm.
I have to say that, I would love to see a grant writer really be hired, because, I think it's wonderful that we're doing this regional, of having this regional person, being paid for the first year, but that is just completely, to me, unrealistic in terms of what
Yeah.
you need for a grant writer. And you have, 21 towns competing, with one grant writer. I don't know what that grant writer is gonna be doing at that regional level,
but
so
But-
I think it's gonna be
Yeah.
I think
helpful.
the regional grant writer can provide information is what's available to the individual towns. Grant writing is a whole
Yeah.
thing, and we don't
Yeah, but
know it.
I agree with you completely.
So,
but
but I
that-
think to take our lead from the
Yeah.
COG,
Oh, I think I'm sure it's gonna serve some purpose, but the way it's been kind of billed is the person's actually gonna do grant writing too, like, and then
Right.
in year 2, when you have to pay for it, it would be a per grant, you know. And I could,
Oftentimes it's a per grant thing.
right, and I actually could see that working to your benefit at some point if you had your own part-time grant
Sure.
writer. And then if there was some huge grant you were going for and you needed some help or
Then you
assistance,
bring
then
in a
you
consultant.
do
But I
that.
think we need to take our lead from the
But
COG.
in my feeling, and I remember Bill Weber's thinking on this too, and I did agree with him that, you know, it will pay for itself, you know.
Right, but that's not, but that's really
It's
not in our
done.
purview,
I know,
right?
it's not in our purview.
If
Just
it's
like I
done
suggested
correctly,
tonight
it
about the
pays for itself,
HR
but you can also
position,
spend a lot of money on grant
make a
writers.
recommendation, but it's
Yeah.
not up to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
It's
You can
really
spend a lot of
Board of-
money on grant writers and not get grants.
Yeah, right, this is true.
That's why I'm saying take the lead from the COG.
Yeah, let's see what happens with
Yeah.
that, and I think it may actually force the issue,
Yeah.
where the towns are gonna start to say, hey, we all need part-time.
Because if 4 towns write a grant to share,
Yeah, and they're gonna compete with each
playground
other
or
as
something,
well.
yeah, you know.
Yeah, I think you can take that off, but I just had to get my 2 cents in about the grant.
And you could bring it up any time during
Yeah,
an
when it does
appropriation
come up,
request or
yeah.
whenever. You can bring it up any time, but it's
Yeah.
really not up to us to
Yeah,
decide whether that's you know.
it's fine.
All right, so that comes off, 13 comes off, Anna. 14, analyze CNRE fund, 32. I think that's really, and I don't know why we decided on July, but I really think that should be on demand. If we want to see it, I mean, that should be a regularly updated report, and if we want to see it, say, for an upcoming meeting, we just say, hey, Anna, I'd like to see the activity in that CNRE report.
So we don't need it on the action list, or just,
Well,
Just leave it as on demand.
Just leave, yeah.
yeah,
We'll
okay.
leave it on the list then.
And then I
Okay.
think what's important, if you say on demand, is that second column that's gonna be added, that's so important, because it's like, oh, the last time we got an update on that was February 2020. It's May 2020, I might wanna see if there's been any activity on that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a tickler to say,
Mm.
oh, the last time we saw that
Okay.
was here, let's get another update.
And that's the fun that we're, Anna, you'll be eventually reworking it.
Cleaning up.
Right,
From
yeah,
what
so
our
I think the
conversation-
last time you looked at it was just in December.
Yes, yes.
Okay, yep. December 2019. Okay. What is 15, subsequent years' budgets? Discuss so can consider 2021. I have no idea what that is. Any guessers?
Well,
I
I,
wasn't here.
I'm wondering if that had to do with, so
Audit?
that you could make suggestions for when we, you know, we're working on the 2021 budget.
sure.
About the dates and the timeframe.
Perhaps it was to see patterns, trends.
Mm.
I don't know.
I'm
Well,
not
then
sure,
prior
I'm not
to
sure
that.
that's an action item.
Yeah.
Okay.
So take it off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
what
We're all in
that's
agreement.
We have no
We already
problem
know what it is.
expressing, we have no problem expressing our views.
Yeah.
16, special revenue data sheet. Now, is
Yep.
this what you were referring to, the Board of Ed special
revenue?
pockets?
Wait, it was, let's see, that was called, oh, there's a special name that Board of Ed uses, and I can't recall what it is, but, yeah, I don't know what this is.
Take it out. then.
Take it off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Alright.
love taking off things off this list,
yeah,
it's great.
that's
All right,
nice.
16, delete.
Mhm.
Completed action item list. Well, we could take that off. We could
Yeah,
take that
take
off.
that off.
Because it's self-evident,
Right. what's
right?
Yeah.
This
happening.
report is going to be
Oh, there's no
self-evident.
flip side.
Good job,
That's
Camille.
great.
All right, good, we got through that one. Rich, do you have a list of items to follow up, that we needed follow-up on, that you would like to request?
Sure.
Did you
Is
hand,
this-
I'm sorry, did you hand that out?
Yeah, did you hand it? No, that's
No,
yours.
I didn't hand this out.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
thanks.
Give my legs a stretch.
Oops, all right, thank you. I got a color printer, wow, envious.
Color. That's the only way I can see.
The hell, you know, the font's a little, gee.
I know, I need 2 sets of glasses.
I'll have to give you one later.
Oh, she can have mine, she can
Yeah,
have mine,
you can
Rich.
have mine.
I'll share. I'll share. And I have access to that, right, because it's on Google Docs?
Yeah.
We're sharing, I'll pull it down.
Yeah.
really tiny.
Okay, so I've asked Rich, there's a lot of meetings where we have requests for information, and we really needed a way to track that data to see if it was being received. So I've asked Rich to kind of take on this responsibility, and he's done a nice job setting that up. So,
So what I did was to just go to Google Sheets and set up a spreadsheet. And that I can share the link with everyone if they would like that. And that way you would have access to it. Essentially, some of this was provided from Camille as to things that were before my time here. Some were things that have occurred since I've started on the board. And what I tried to do is to go through and list the different agenda items as to whether the activities are ongoing, or if they're open that they haven't been started yet, or if they're closed. So, for example, the turf replacement CNRE account is ongoing. As far as I know, we haven't gotten that report from Jeff Newton. And please correct me if any of this is incorrect. And then the fund balance report.
Well, the turf thing, I mean, I remember this discussion. So there's a balance, is it it started at 25,000?
Started last time.
And 2 years later, it's still at 25,000?
mm-hmm,
Okay,
Okay.
yep.
just want to make sure I read that correctly.
Okay.
And it's going to eventually cost about $500,000 to
right.
replace.
Hmm.
Yep.
That's not good to hear. Okay, and going down the list of things, the agenda item for the budget process, I guess that came in
Yeah,
today,
that's
so I
right.
can mark that as closed for the future. Camille had asked.
Not quite closed, Rich, because
Guess
we'll
we'll keep
revisit
it.
this in the next
I
month.
think it's gonna be.
Oh, okay,
Just
so
to
I'll
go-
I'll make it an ongoing then.
Yeah, maybe.
Right.
Oh,
for a
okay.
bit.
And the fund balance report, Camille and Anna are working to produce, so that's ongoing,
So that's actually, you could mark that closed, because
closed.
the format has been decided on, and it's going to be a monthly report. So that's done.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think it was brought up at a meeting about what was the annual licensing fee from the vendor of the accounting software that had been selected, and what do we currently pay for the current accounting software. So I don't know if there's been any progress on that, or if that's still an open item.
Okay, so. I mean, I did email you that information.
Probably.
Yeah, okay. So the town and the board are paying currently $46,440. And the new software licensing will be $65,197, which is an $18,757 increase.
Oh, okay.
And that's between, that would be, the town will have a portion, the Board of Ed will have a portion, and then water and sewer will also have a portion of all of the total fees, as we do now.
So you can mark that closed.
Yep.
And then, if it's closed, I would keep it in the spreadsheet, but you don't have to print it off every time.
Right.
You know, just keep it for, in case we have to reference back to it. But if it's done and we've got the information, we can just take it off the report.
Oh, okay. And then you'd mentioned that there was a breakdown of contingency costs for the school's projects. I don't know if that was communicate it to Camille at some point? Lisa's not on the board anymore. Or if that's still an open, I think the school that was the renovation of the
Mhm.
schools.
Right, something was presented at one of the meetings, however, I'm not sure if subsequent information was requested on that.
Okay. So Camille, is that still a desire to have the breakdown of those costs? I remember it was I think the reason this came up was that it was from the minutes from that 10-9 meeting during our December meeting when 3 of us had abstained from approval of the meetings.
Right.
Minutes.
Right. I mean, I'm not interested in that information. I don't know if anybody else is. So,
I
as
guess
far as
we'll
I'm
just
concerned,
close
it
it.
can come off. I don't know how
Oh,
the rest
okay.
of you feel. It was Lisa's request, so.
Oh, okay.
Anybody want to see that on or off?
No, I don't think we need it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless we
Just-
make, we're not making any decisions on it.
Yeah, just-
Right.
just-
So
I think
just
it's
remove
gonna
it?
be
Yeah, just
superfluous
remove it.
information.
Okay.
And then the last meeting, you had brought up about information requirements for the
Mhm.
Public Safety Building Vision Committee.
Mm-hmm.
And you provided a spreadsheet template to the committee. So can that be closed or
No, I would say that's
ongoing?
ongoing, because even though I provided the template, I would like to see it completed.
Oh, okay. And then Anne Santoro, I believe you were interested in the Board of Ed
Right.
Health Fund balance. The update on the deficit amount. Was that the last meeting?
Right, that
you
was
had
at
brought
the
that
meeting,
up?
and I didn't ask today in part because Mr. Newton wasn't here too, so I was interested in that, but, Anna, do you have any info on that?
Yeah, actually, the plan is to do a comprehensive health insurance fund report to the board at next month's meeting.
That's great, thank you.
Okay, so you might just want to put, we'll discuss February
Okay.
2020.
And the last item, which is open, but I think in talking with you this afternoon, it may be completed, that you have reports on the CRNE.
Well, that was just
Okay.
one fund. That was just
Oh,
one
okay.
CNRE account, but I think Anna last month presented that large spreadsheet. Remember
Right.
the 8.5 by 14
Right.
sheet? That there were a lot of things that were closed out, but it looked like there was still money available in those, so I think we wanted that report cleaned up. I think a lot of people wanted to see that cleaned up, so we don't have it tonight. Why don't we just keep that open?
Oh, okay.
Does everybody remember the report?
Mhm.
Yes.
8.5 by 14?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if no progress has been made on that, we'll just keep it open.
Oh, okay.
How's that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Rich,
And
oh, sorry. Go on.
you go in.
So the only other issue that I had saw from last month was that Camille had asked Mr. Nickerson about acquiring the Dominion Building on Main Street, and I guess she wanted the Board of Finance to be involved in the potential asking price and marketing of the building. So
And he
I
said
just-
no.
Oh, is that what he said? I don't remember. I just remember you asking, and I thought he said that they hadn't really, they were in preliminary negotiations, basically,
No.
that they didn't have much going
No,
on.
I
So,
didn't
that's,
think that would go on this as a.
okay, well, that's just
Yeah.
what, something that I had marked down to just,
Right.
to ask about.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll keep asking the question, how it's going, and try to get updates on that. You know, but I don't see our involvement as being welcomed there.
Okay.
And so this is just it's a work in progress. If people have suggestions, I can put filters at the top of the columns too for, especially to move the closed items out as things develop. But the origin of this came about because when I was looking at the meeting minutes from the meeting prior to when the three new members had come on board, it looked as though the meeting minutes, there were some items that just had a potential to drop through the cracks. And this way we can, if something comes up and it's in the minutes or that we remember it from discussions, we can keep those topics alive and have them addressed.
I think it's a good tool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good,
Mhm.
yeah, nice job.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay. So with that,
So can I, so why don't, so like the action item list that we just did, can they be incorporated on this
Combine
list?
these two, is that what you're?
Very easily, yeah.
Or no?
if you would like to track it, if you would like to track it, that would be wonderful.
And I could put it on a separate sheet in the workbook, so
Okay, so in other words, you don't, you,
She was
because I was
saying
just
put
saying
on
make it
here.
all one list,
Yeah,
yeah.
rather than having two lists.
I agree I like one list instead of two.
Although, I don't know, there's something, I think,
Is there different?
they're very different. I think the two lists are
Okay.
different in that the action item lists are more, they're more project-oriented and require more reporting or more doing, and the unanswered question list, we'll call it,
Yeah.
seems to be the subject of your
Mhm.
spreadsheet. So I see them as two different things. Well,
Okay, that's fine.
you know, just a thought where we do, ask many questions of the first selectman or you, Anna, or whoever is here, and sometimes, you have to go back and get information, and that's where, I guess, this may be helpful.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we just don't
This
forget.
is a much more short-term
Yeah,
list.
yes.
Where the other one is more role and responsibility
Yeah.
focused, like where
Yeah.
we'll be revisiting on a
Yeah.
repetitive basis.
Yeah.
It never goes away, like,
Yeah. Or creating something new, like we had to create the
Yeah.
purchasing policy or something,
Yeah.
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 Or the capital asset policy, Anna. Right.
Okay, so I think we're all set. We can move on to public discussion. If anybody in the audience would like to speak, yes, please. Yes,
Oh, wow, that's a long
excellent.
week.
Thank you for your patience. This is a brutal meeting.
That's okay, I'm on my way.
Name and address for the record, please.
Debbie Jet Harris, 19 Center Street. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Happy New Year.
Happy New
I
Year.
just have a couple of comments, two comments actually. The first comment is I was hoping that Selectman Nickerson was still here because I would like to thank him for keeping a watchful eye on the new dollar store and keeping it not just a plain ugly old block-looking dollar store, and that they were going to be involved in that, the first selectman as well as the board of selectmen. I think that's very important to our town, and I was very pleased that that they're all going to be keeping an eye on that. Very happy, and I think that the residents will be very happy with that as well. Second of all, sitting through the meeting, I would just like to make a comment. When we talk about the increase for human resource manager position hours, which I can certainly understand with the number of employees, I didn't realize we had that many employees. I can certainly understand why we would need a full-time person to manage that task. However, when Selectman Nickerson made the comment that Jen and Karen had a lot on their plate, it kind of made me feel like, is that department understaffed for hours as well? And I know from past meetings, and I read the meetings and I watch the tapes if I cannot attend, I know that department generates a lot of revenue for our town. It's a very important piece of this town, and the way that it's ran and the revenue that it generates. So I was sitting there and I just kind of asked myself a question. Are they I meant only because he named them. I would have never known. I don't know what they work. I don't know them or anything like that. But when he made the comment, and I think that he said that Jen and Karen are swimming in that department, I kind of got the feeling that there's a lot going on in that department. And are we staffed in that as well? And would it be, just as somebody just sitting there in the meeting, is it possible, or should there be a concern that to up some hours here and there in that department as well, since that is the department that generates the majority of the revenue for our town. And that's just something that I just was observing just from his comments, and just thanking you guys for a wonderful job. I know it's a tough job, and it's nice to see everybody get along and bring ideas, and it's okay to disagree and stuff, and it's just nice to see. So thank you very much.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for attending.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to board comments. We'll start at the end and move our way down. John, do you have any comments?
No,
Pete,
No,
And-
productive meeting.
No,
Ann,
No, thank you.
Rich?
Just a couple of things to throw in the hopper for the town and the schools to consider going forward. There was some press in the day about Preston getting involved with some neighboring towns for financial software and also with boards of ed. And they were able to negotiate a pretty good price. I think this might serve as a good model for other efforts and other actions for the town that require services, that require purchasing software, that